In the year 1800, one private company ruled over more people than Britain itself. It had its own army, its own currency, and the power to declare war. This company did not begin as an empire. It began as a group of merchants asking permission to trade spices. Its name was the British East India Company, and in less than 200 years it conquered the Indian subcontinent, not for a crown, not for a nation, but for profit. This is how a corporation became one of the most powerful empires in history. The British East India Company was founded in 1600 by a royal charter from Queen Elizabeth I. Its purpose was simple: trade with Asia. At first, the company had no army, no territory, and no political power. India at the time was dominated by the Mughal Empire, one of the richest empires on earth. British traders were minor players, competing with Portuguese and Dutch merchants. The company paid customs, it obeyed local rulers, and it survived only by permission. But that balance would not last. By the early 1700s, the Mughal Empire began to fracture. After the death of Emperor Aurangzeb in 1707, central authority weakened. Regional governors, called nawabs, became increasingly independent. This political instability created opportunity. The East India Company began building fortified trading posts known as factories in cities like Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay. They hired local soldiers, sepoys, to protect their goods. What began as defense slowly became militarization. The turning point came in 1757 at the Battle of Plassey. The ruler of Bengal, Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowlah, tried to curb British influence. The company responded with force. The British commander, Robert Clive, had about 3,000 troops. The Nawab had over 50,000. But Clive made secret agreements with the Nawab's own generals, most notably Mir Jafar. When the battle began, those generals refused to fight. The Nawab was defeated in a single day. Plassey was not just a military victory, it was a political takeover. The company installed Mir Jafar as a puppet ruler. In return, Bengal's treasury was opened to British control. In 1765, the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II granted the company the Diwani, the right to collect taxes in Bengal. This changed everything. The East India Company was no longer just trading in India, it was governing millions of people. Revenue from Bengal funded a massive private army. By the early 1800s, the company commanded over 200,000 soldiers, mostly Indian sepoys led by British officers. It was the largest army in the world outside state control. Company rule was ruthless and extractive. Taxes increased sharply. Local industries declined under British trade policies. Traditional safeguards against famine were dismantled. In 1770, Bengal was hit by a catastrophic famine. An estimated 10 million people died. Despite mass starvation, company tax demands remained unchanged. Profits flowed to Britain. Suffering stayed in India. This was not mismanagement, it was policy. The company expanded using both war and legal manipulation. Under Governor-General Lord Wellesley, the company introduced subsidiary alliances. Indian rulers were forced to accept British troops and give up foreign policy control. Those who resisted faced war. Major conflicts included the Anglo-Mysore Wars against Tipu Sultan, killed in 1799, the Anglo-Maratha Wars, ending in 1818. By the early 19th century, most of India was under company dominance, directly or indirectly. Company rule finally provoked massive resistance. In 1857, Indian soldiers revolted. The immediate trigger was the introduction of rifle cartridges rumored to be greased with cow and pig fat, offensive to Hindu and Muslim beliefs.
But the deeper causes were decades of economic exploitation, cultural interference, and political annexation. The rebellion spread across northern India. The British response was brutal. Entire cities were destroyed, thousands were executed. By 1858, the rebellion was crushed, but the company was finished. The British government intervened. In 1858, Parliament passed the Government of India Act. The East India Company was dissolved. India came under direct British Crown rule. A corporation conquered a subcontinent and lost it only when the damage became impossible to ignore. The British East India Company did not conquer India with superior numbers. It conquered through division, money, and contracts backed by guns. It proved something unprecedented in history, that profit-driven corporations could wield power equal to empires. Modern multinational corporations trace their structure to this model: standing armies, lobbying power, territorial influence. The company's empire collapsed, but its blueprint survived. And the question history leaves behind is unsettling. When power belongs to shareholders instead of citizens, who truly pays the price?